This is DartPoints Podcast number 101 for Wednesday, December 18th, 2024. In this podcast, the DartPoints Solutions Architects talk about tech-related gifts for your holiday buying season. These gifts range from general tech stocking stuffers to something for the data center engineer. All this and more on this DartPoints Podcast. And welcome to the DartPoints Podcast. Hey guys, this is podcast number 101 for Wednesday, December 18th. It's been a little while since we've done a podcast. Sometimes we all get busy doing projects and whatnot, and toward the end of the year, it kind of, gets even worse. But also one of the things that we have is a tradition of doing a end of the year tech buying guide, right? Or talk about things for stocking stuffers for your tech person in your life. And this year we definitely want to do the same and go from there. So to start off, I want to introduce some new faces. Obviously, we all know Jimmy Williamson. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning.
But we have some new faces in. We've got Eric Davis and Chris Kramer. And what you have here today, folks, is the entire DartPoints Solutions Architect team. So we should have some good stuff to talk about today and good stocking stuffers. So Eric and Chris, let's introduce yourselves. Tell us a little bit about yourself since this is your first podcast with us.
Good morning, Chris Kramer, Solutions Architect in the Midwest. I serve 3 data centers. I'm located a little bit north of Cincinnati and Mason, Ohio. Then also we've got our Columbus, Indiana data center, as well as Dublin, Ohio. So I sit kind of right in the middle of that triangle, and happy to join you all this morning.
Absolutely.
And Eric Davis, Solutions Architect, primarily in the Southeast region. Been with DartPoints for just over 13 years now. Started off when it was Netraplex, then Medion, now DartPoints, and pretty much do the same thing as everybody else on this call now.
Awesome. And Jimmy, welcome again. Good to have you on another podcast.
Thank you, Will. Thanks for having me back, and happy holidays. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into it, guys. So, one of the things we like doing is, it's Christmas time. Us tech people, we love to either get or give gifts. And, when we were thinking about this podcast, it's like, we need to get one in before the end of the year. We'll talk about all the other cool data center stuff we're doing starting in January. And we've got some good podcasts that are already in the can, ready to be recorded and released. But we wanted to get one out before Christmas because it's just almost time where if you don't buy something, you're going to have some trouble getting something. Maybe Best Buy is your option. But most of the tech gifts that we talk about today, you can either get from Amazon still or at your local Best Buy or something like that. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got a few things here on the list. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to share the first one here on my list, and then we'll figure out who goes next and kind of go from there. The first one I have is some power. So this is an Anker Solix C1000 portable power station, and so what I bought this earlier this year. Kind of in preparation for things like hurricanes. We live here I live here in Baton Rouge in the South. Obviously, hurricanes are not limited to the South. They're everywhere. And Eric, I first heard about this device, I think from you. I think you actually had said, hey, you need to look at the Solix stuff.
Yeah, I've got the same one. It's awesome.
Yeah. So this one basically is a 1800 watt a power station, right? And it basically allows you to it's not a generator, right? It doesn't actually generate power. It's actually just a big battery. And what you do with this is you plug it into the wall, you charge it every few weeks, you keep it topped off at 100%. And in the event of an outage, you have 6 AC outlets that you can plug into. And then you also have some USB ports that you can plug into, both USB-C and USB-A. And the thing I like about this is it actually charges really fast. And, the battery life I've seen has been fantastic. I was able to power, all my devices, a television, for several hours without having any issue.
Refrigerator, I did that at the house for several hours. It's great for that.
Yeah. The thing I like about this, again, it's not a generator, right? So there's pros and cons to that. If you need something to run your entire house, this really isn't it, right? But if you need something to keep your laptops charged, maybe a refrigerator for a few hours, or just run a television or even a small fan or something like that, or these portable air conditioners, this really is a really good option. And the thing that's nice about this is because it's a battery pack and not an actual like a gas generator, it's not putting off any gas or fumes, right? So it kind of is just basically a big battery, and I really like mine. I have this exact model. They make other models that are larger that have more battery capacity, so give you a little bit longer charge. But I find that this is kind of a sweet spot of portable because you can basically pick it up. It's like a Yeti, right? It's not really, really huge. But it's, it is something that I think is really good. And if you did want a little bit more power, you can actually get an expansion battery pack that looks like this, right? Come on. Right here, right? And it's one that's kind of goes on top, and it basically doubles your capacity. So I actually have the Solix C1000 and the battery pack that goes on top. You can also get them with like solar panels. So if you want to like maybe stick it outside during the day, let it charge up, you can do that. And this is kind of one of my picks for today.
Now, Will, do you have the solar panels for charging? And if you do, how long does it take to typically charge that way?
So I don't actually have the solar panels. I might get that. I might get that later. For me, I wanted something that would give me 5 or 6 hours of charging devices and things like this. The thing I like about this device I mentioned earlier is it's really fast charge. So in the event for me, I had, a power outage or something, I would, I always keep it charged up. And if I did experience a power outage, I would drive somewhere, plug it in, soak up some power from somewhere and go back home. Right.
Maybe like a data center?
Maybe like a data center.
That's right.
Power there. Yeah. And, it's worked out good. I do want to get the solar because I think it's cool to just, if you were in an extended outage maybe, or if there was like, everybody had a power outage, this would be the place, this would be the use for that. But yeah, this was what I have, and this was my pick. So
I'll definitely add that one to the list because during Helene, when Hurricane Helene happened, for anybody might be listening that went through that, I have a small UPS that runs my CPAP machine. And so I would have to take it every day over to the data center. We were without power for about 5 days at the house. Data center was running the whole time. Go there, charge it for 3 or 4 hours, and bring it home. It sounds like this would actually last for probably a day or so.
Yeah, I actually did that exact use case for one of my family members that runs a CPAP. They got this exact one, and it was able to run it for the better part of a week.
Wow.
So it was pretty good. And then they had a small solar panel and, could take it outside, charge it during the day, and, was enough to get by on the CPAP for several weeks.
How did the solar charging, how efficient was it? Did they?
Obviously it depends on the day, right? And cloud cover and what solar panel you have. If you want to keep it charged up every day, you probably need at least a 400 watt panel to do that. If you're depleting it. So it's a pretty significant size panel. But there's other ones. I see Will brought up the C300, which is the smaller version of this. This is one that you do for travel and stuff. And this is great for camping. I like taking. I've got the older version of this one. This particular one's the C300 AC. There's also a C300 DC model, Will, that actually has the pop up on top. So it's basically a camp lantern. So I don't know if anybody used to go camping, but you get the old propane lanterns, and you got to light them and carry it around, and that one.
See, so that's pretty cool.
Because I actually got that to replace my old propane lantern, so I can hang that up. It's it's digital. You hit a button, you've got a lantern. It lasts for many days.
That's really cool.
And similar to the larger C1000, right? It's got USB Type A, Type C. It's got solar input. It's got a cigarette lighter. So you can charge this in a number of ways. But yeah, it's a great little one if you aren't doing a whole lot with it. But
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that one you showed originally would be good for a small CPAP for probably a day or so. They're
the thing I like about these are even in I think even in the smaller ones they have like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. So I mean, even if you need, and what's funny is it's like, oh wait, let me open the app for my power station, and you can actually manage. You can like turn off and on the light. You can manage powering the device all from your phone, which is really convenient and kind of cool. And I do like the fact that it has the lights. Even on mine, the C1000, it's got a bar on top that actually is pretty bright.
Yeah, in the C1000, not to get too deep into it, but you can limit how fast it charges. You can limit what it charges up to. So if you want to just kind of slowly charge it, you don't have to have like 1,000 watts all at once if you don't want to. So yeah,
very cool.
They've got a good app.
Very cool. All right, so since we're talking about power, let's get the power stuff out the way. And Chris, we're going to talk about yours. You had this guy here, the ChargeCard.
Yeah. This is just could be a stocking stuffer for you, and just in the event, it's a nice thing to put in your computer bag in the event that you're out and about and you lose a charge. It snaps right onto the back of your wireless device, gives you a real quick charge, gives you 100% charge, and then you're good to go. It pretty convenient, for the folks on the go, and eliminates that tough spot where you might be in where you can't get a charge. This will charge you up real quick. Nice stocking stuffer.
It is. The only problem with this device is this word here that says it's Android compatible.
Oh, hey,
that's a hard.
I agree with you on that one, Will. Yeah.
I kid. So, Chris, it's actually kind of funny because one of the picks that I chose, which I will say, at first I always, the bigger battery is not always better, right?
Right.
I actually recently bought something exactly like this ChargeCard, and I really like these types of devices because I have one here, which is made by a company called Torras. And what I like about these is they're wafer thin, right? They're really, really small. And actually this one does work on Apple and Android, and it just kind of snaps to the back of your phone. I think your ChargeCard does as well, right? They're all magnetic, right. And most all phones these days, whether they're Android or Apple devices, have MagSafe for Qi charging. And what I like about this is I use this little battery not when I'm out necessarily, traveling or things like this, but if I'm sitting on the couch and my battery's about dead and I'm not near a charger, I'll just grab one of these. I've actually got two of them. My wife has one, I have one. And you just snap them on the back, and then it's so thin, you really don't even notice it when you hold it, right? This, let me see. This is the one that I have, right? And I mean, they're cheap enough to where, man, you can get a couple of them. They make great stocking stuffers, and it's something you'll use. I find you would use it every few days. Whenever you want to just top off, snap it on the back of your phone, you're good to go.
Absolutely.
I can see that being good for traveling too. One thing I do is occasionally I'll forget my charging cable for my phone. I'll travel. I won't realize it till I get there. This is a good way to like get rid of that whole issue. Just snap it on the back and charge up until you can find a cable somewhere at a store nearby.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the thing I'll say about this one, and I was looking at several others. They do make one that's 10,000 milliamps. Okay, and it's actually, it's bigger, has more capacity, will charge your phone, longer, right? Give you more capacity charge. The problem I found, and a buddy of mine has this exact same one. We have basically almost matching chargers, but his is actually, it's almost double the size of this. And although it gives you plenty of, battery capacity, right? And for charging, I really like something that's a little smaller, actually, that you can hold on your phone, and it really doesn't affect, using the phone, right? Something that's really big, you kind of start to not want to use your phone, and you just set it down. Again, it all depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're out camping, or something like that, you're probably going to snap it on the back of your phone and put your phone down. But if you're sitting on the couch or something like this, you want something that's going to be thin to where you really won't notice it. And that's why these smaller ones kind of are a little bit more convenient for certain use cases. The other thing I'll say is, and I don't have any scientific data to back this up, but I found that when I'm charging my device with a smaller battery capacity, it doesn't get as hot. And my buddy has one that's 10,000 milliamp, and he says after a few minutes it starts getting hot. So not necessarily a bad thing, because most modern phones will throttle themselves to keep from overheating to a certain extent. But I don't know. I love these little small batteries, like the one this one and the one Chris recommended. And I think yours is 5,000 milliamps too, Chris. It's about the same size, right? So either one of these will do the job. All right, let's see who is next. Jimmy, let's
if we're talking power,
a couple of yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So just I don't actually have one of these, so but I have. I'm going to share this podcast with my wife, who might be listening, and make sure she knows what's on my list. So I've been doing some home upgrades or some home replacements recently. So replacing a couple of older HVAC units, one with a heat pump, one with a gas furnace, redoing the roof, so getting ready to maybe do some solar panels. So one of the things I was looking for is some way to like monitor power utilization for different devices in my house. And this was really cool. So good reviews. Pretty simple installation. So this is, if you're not lucky enough to live in an area that has like a smart meter from your power company that's Wi-Fi enabled, this is actually a unit you can buy from this company called Sense. It's a home automation company. Basically, I think there's a picture here somewhere where it shows how to attach it to your breaker panel. It's got a couple of clamps that go, they're amp clamps that connect in. They recommend you have an electrician do it, so it depends on how comfortable you are, but the amp clamps just clamp over your, the power cables that come from, delivered from your, from the power company. It has a little Wi-Fi antenna that attaches to the side of the breaker box. And then you do have to power it with like a couple of extra poles that are in there. So you have to wire it in to power the unit. So you need I think it's a couple of spare poles that are not being used for anything, or maybe shared with something, low amperage to be able to power it. But the cool thing is, this actually looks at the utilization of devices that are in your home and kind of uses some machine learning, which is, I think, the cool part, to find out what those are. So if you think about it, and it's not necessarily instantaneous, but it basically can go through and say, oh, I know based on the energy signature that this is a refrigerator, or this is an HVAC unit, or whatever that might be. Not necessarily foolproof, but it can start learning. I can also tell when new things come onto it. And there's a lot of cool functionality in the app to show you kind of almost per second or per so many second utilization on all those. So you can do a couple of things. One is, actually see how much power is using, per minute, per hour, per month. The other is you get, if you see it here, you got the kind of cool heat map that shows you what devices are using the most. So maybe you identify something that is running. I don't have a basement, but say you have a basement, you've got a dehumidifier or something running down there, and it's cutting on all the time because you don't really have great insulation, right? So this helps you identify some of those things, and apparently show you some of the what it's costing to run it, so you can kind of determine where the biggest expense is, and then maybe you add some insulation down in the basement. Maybe you look and you find out that you're there's something going on with your water heater. It's cutting on over and over again rather than doing what it's supposed to do. Maybe you got something going bad on it. So it's very cool. You can also have it alert you when different things happen, loss of signal, or it learns what is normal, and then it starts showing you abnormal. Like, hey, we noticed that your HVAC unit was the compressor's turning on. It's supposed to be running. It typically runs so many times per hour, cycles so many times per hour, and you can see an anomaly. So this is definitely on my list. The other cool thing is they actually have some add-on sensors and some different versions. So the basic model is just for people who don't have solar, which I don't yet because I'm putting a new roof on, and I didn't want to make that leap until that was done. Because that's the only place at my home that I really have to put solar panels on there. But they actually have an extension to show you you can power this, supplement the power through solar, and it also can kind of show you how much you're saving through the solar panels, how much of the load is going there. A lot of good analytics. So
that's really cool.
This is definitely on my list of things to do, and I don't live in an area where that has a smart meter. I think right now Sense is piloting New York. I think there's an area up there that they're deploying those. But down here, there's no Wi-Fi functionality. So if you really want to get a sense of what's being used, you got to use something like this. I think the whole machine learning piece is just really cool. I'd like to see how that works. And
that is cool because, Jamie, I have a smart meter outside my house that my power company has installed, but it doesn't do what this does. Like, I can go into my power app, my power company app, and I can see if my power's turned on. I can report an outage. It'll give me utilization of the energy in my house. But this is nice because it goes into it monitors the breakers, right? You can know exactly what you're using, which I think is a lot better than just having a smart meter. This is you can get analytics on maybe a room or washer dryer or your major breakers in your house. You can wire this in to where I think it gives you a lot more information.
Yeah, I think I looked at these too, and it's definitely on my short list. But the thing that I want to find out is what about all of the always on devices in your house that are just constantly draining, right? You have all the little smart speakers or, all the little chargers and everything. How much of your electric bill every month is just kind of going to waste for things that you don't even realize, or your TV's always on, or, whatever, right? So I think those would be kind of good metrics to see, talking about the machine learning and kind of AI part of that. And see how good it is to kind of get that information out of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you're right, Eric. Knowing what's going on in your house really is important. I mean, and I talk about, this isn't on one of my lists, but my home Wi-Fi and my home router and internet connection, I can look and tag devices to get deep analytics of what it's doing, right? So I was very surprised to know that multiple times during the night, my TV's going out to the internet to, check for updates or pull down guides and things like this. Obviously, I recommend to always put your IoT devices on an isolated network. Not that we're trying to preach to the choir here, but, folks, IoT device networks is good. But just knowing is man, this is, how much internet we're using, but now this is getting into how much power we're using, which is really cool. Nice. All right, let's see what else we got. So, Jimmy, that's a good pick. And this is what it looks like. It actually goes inside your breaker. Yeah, it looks like it'd probably be even easy enough for me to do. All right, so changing away from power. This is one of your picks, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, this is my pick for something I want for fun. So mostly because I tried learning how to, kind of do the drone thing. The hexacopter is what I actually originally bought. It lasted for this was a few years ago. It lasted for about 3 hours until it met its unfortunate end by slamming into a tree. So limited areas around here where I could fly one. So I was curious what's available today, right? And so I was looking at this one. This is on my list as well. I don't actually have one of these. But one, it's $229, so relatively inexpensive for a drone. A couple other things that were really cool. Older ones, the one I tried, you had to, you could attach a camera to it and see it through your phone, but it wasn't very good quality. It didn't work really well. And also it didn't really have different modes for like learning how to fly if you don't know how to fly one. So, but it was inexpensive at the time. So this one, it's got a full like 4K camera. So you can do motion video at 30 frames per second. It's also got some different modes for if you're learning how to fly and you want to be able to, turn it into different modes as you get more comfortable doing it. It's got a lot of features around. So also with so kind of the drone things going on in the country today, I thought it'd be just kind of cool to freak the neighbors out. So flying it over. Other cool thing, you see here, it's foldable, so you can like put it in a little pack and take it with you. So if you want to go find a place where you have some open space, which is what I would recommend after my unfortunate incident crashing my first one. If you want to find a place to do it. Couple of things I thought were really cool. The one I got a few years ago, you could fly it for about 10 minutes, maybe 15 tops. Then you had to basically recharge it on a USB charger. This one's got 2 batteries. Each of them can run it for like 30 minutes. So you get like an hour of flying time before you have to recharge it. And because most of us don't want to do it, it's not for commercial use. It's small enough. It doesn't require FAA registration. You don't have to go through that whole rigmarole. If you just want to take it out, have fun, maybe take a few pictures. Other cool things you can do, you can use it for like inspecting your roof, do kinds of things like that. So I thought it was a good entry level drone to try to get back into this. It's also kind of got some, the controller that attaches to your phone to make it a little more video game flight controller like, rather than trying to use an app in the phone. So I just thought it was very cool.
Yeah, that's cool. And it looks like it has these little landing legs, so you can kind of keep yourself from crashing, I guess, or it helps if you do kind of crash, maybe. Yeah,
it's got some return to home functionality, so you're
cool.
always supposed to keep the drones in visual sight. But so things happen or whatever, you can actually, it's got a return to base station or return to. I think it actually just has the signal from your phone, your controller that you're using to do it, or GPS to help it return back to where it was. It would be GPS from that distance, but thought that was really cool. So a good way to kind of get into it. Everybody says this is a good beginner drone if you're wanting to get into that.
Yeah, that's cool, really cool.
Cool use case I saw one time on a drone was this guy flew his bait. He was fishing about 300 yards out into the ocean and dropped it. And he because he wanted to get out beyond the sandbar for sharks. And he got one. Nice.
That's cool. I don't know if my skills are quite that have enough confidence to do that, but that's cool.
That is cool. Yeah, these drones, I've always wanted a drone, but I've always kind of shied away from getting one because my last years ago, I was getting into model like remote control airplanes, and I found the one I wanted, and I did a bunch of like YouTubes how to fly these planes, took it out to a safe place to fly, and it literally flew for about 20 seconds until it crashed into the ground. In which case I went, damn it, it's harder than it looks. And, I kind of gave up on it. But drones are nice because kind of like you don't have to have a lot of like flight knowledge. I think it'll even kind of fly itself almost, right? It'll kind of keep you from crashing. I guess you can deliberately run it into something, but I think it does a lot of the avoidance for you. It kind of makes it easy to do.
Definitely things to kind of compensate for the beginner, for sure.
Absolutely. That's a cool pick, Jimmy. All right, we're going to go to another one of yours, talking about educating yourself, right? Looking at YouTube videos. This isn't a YouTube video, but tell us about what you have here. This is obviously we probably all know about O'Reilly, but it looks like
absolutely.
Man,
So I thought this was cool for somebody who is, there's lots of training platforms out there. Now, we all use some of them, Pluralsight, CPT Nuggets. There's others that are out there. Like both of those. This one, if you've been in IT a long time, which I've been, 20 years or so, we all of us sort of remember the O'Reilly books because they had the really cool cover. I think I shared a couple of photos of that. Maybe we can put them in later. Of different books that had different animals on them, or whether it was infrastructure as code with a different book, or Drupal. I think it had a sloth or something on it. But always really cool pictures. And I remember using those to study back in the day. And I always really liked the O'Reilly content. Used them for a lot of certification exams and prep. And so they recently, or not so recently that I've been aware, they developed a training platform. So you get access to the training courses for certifications. There's also, I don't think it's in the individual plan, but in some of the higher end plans, you also can have some sandbox functionality for different things for like cloud platforms. So you can get a little bit of hands-on experience. They do some live events. And then the thing I thought was really cool that for me, because I do like online videos and I like learning hands-on, but I also do enjoy reading. I like reading for fun and reading to learn. And so I got a fond memory of those books. Well, you get access to the books that were out there now, except obviously now they're in electronic format, they're searchable. So you still have access to that content as well. It's a little bit, it's about in line with most of the other platforms. The individual plans are about $49 a month. I think there's a discount if you do, a 1 year subscription. I think that's just all of them, but thought that was a great one. And this O'Reilly just has a great reputation for content. Good quality.
Yeah, I actually, my first O'Reilly book, I had two of them at the same time. This was my first one on DNS and Bind. Right? I love the covers, Jimmy. They're like, their artwork is like really, really cool. So this was like one of my first ones. And then the other one was the I think everyone had the TCP/IP book. That everyone has. So these were kind of like my first books. So I love O'Reilly stuff. So that's a good pick. Definitely. I didn't know they had this learning platform. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's. I think it's relatively new. I think I first heard about it maybe about a year ago, but I hadn't really sat down and taken a look at it. But when I did, I was like, there's a lot of content in here, for sure. And especially if you're doing some exam prep, great certification prep. Just thought it was a great tool, and from someone who's been doing educational materials for technical audiences for a long time.
That is cool. Now, does it give you access to the books, or just it's? So
you have access to. I don't know if it's all the books, but you have access to the books to a lot of those. I haven't looked through all of that yet, but my understanding is you do. And they update the content. You have access to that as well. And they have some higher end plans, like I said, that have additional things that you can do. But the individual plan, which $50 a month, that seems reasonable to me for the access that you get.
That's cool. Definitely a good Christmas gift. Cool. All right, let's switch on here. Chris, this is one of your picks. Tell us about this, the Ryko Wi-Fi.
Yeah, this is just if you're on the go, out of a Wi-Fi range, this is portable, fit in your pocket, and you get about 150 megs download on it. And this little guy will last about 15 hours is the time limit. So it's got a pretty good sustainability, and it comes with the SIM card. So just a nice another little stocking stuffer.
That's cool. So basically what you do is you get it, you subscribe to one of these service providers, right? So Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, O2, I guess, if you're in Europe or something, or Great Britain. And it basically has a SIM card in it, and then it's got a Wi-Fi hotspot. So if you're going out somewhere and maybe you need to connect your desktop or laptop, or even if, what's that?
Your family, if you have family
road
members
trips
that all have their own plan.
Yeah. The other thing is talking about power and having power outages and stuff. This probably would be a good tool if you needed to plug in and have like a little, wireless internet at your house, right? If in case of a power outage, this would connect to, as long as those carriers still have signal.
Yeah, and the hotspot on your phone, that drains the phone pretty quickly. This has a good, it's 15 hours as up to 15 hours of life on it.
That's pretty good. 150 megabits per second. That's actually a lot of bandwidth. I mean, that's pretty good. Like I know most of us have high-speed internet at home, fiber or whatnot, and have, gigabits of speed, right? Which is great. But a lot of times we really don't need that much, even for streaming. I mean, our needs kind of will be modest, and especially in a situation where we're down to the essentials. That's a good pick.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, so I'm going to talk about one of mine here, and we're going to talk about. We're going to switch a little bit into like health, right? Because obviously everyone will have, something to talk about the new year, lose weight, get healthier, and so on and so forth. And so I don't qualify to get an actual continuous glucose monitor. And the reason why I became interested in knowing kind of what my glucose levels are is it's a good indicator of how your body is responding to food, right? And obviously everyone's trying to be healthy, eat right, exercise, and so on. And this device, it sticks on your arm. I'm actually wearing mine now. If I can bring it up here, I'm actually wearing mine on my arm. And basically, it's a little device that snaps onto your arm. It adheres through a little adhesive and a tape that goes around. And it's sampling. It's not actually getting into your skin deep enough to get into like blood or anything. It's actually in the interstitial tissue inside the skin, and it's able to get your glucose readings. At first, I was like, man, I don't like needles. I don't want anything sticking in me. And I will say, if I can do it, anyone can, because it is basically painless. And once you have it on your person, you really don't notice it on there. It's a little small filament. It's not a needle. It's a little small filament that goes under the skin, and you really don't feel it. But what's good about this is it allows you to see how food affects your blood glucose. So, before I eat a meal, I'll take a look at the app on my phone and see what my blood levels, sugar levels are. And then after my meal, I'll see how that food affected my blood glucose. And then I can make smarter decisions on, hey, maybe I shouldn't eat, fried chicken and ice cream or something like this, right? That might spike my blood sugar. And I love these types of sensors. Biodata is really interesting to me. If you had a lot of people have Fitbits and track, with Apple Watches, track their fitness. This is just another level that brings more information into visibility.
So I'm curious. This is pretty cool. So what does it cost to get a meter?
Yeah, good question. So they're not cheap, but they're cheaper than if you were going to buy a CGM or continuous glucose monitor. And I will say this, let me kind of preface this. This is not technically a CGM. So Dexcom makes like actual continuous glucose monitors like the G7, the G6, that are used primarily by people who have diabetes, right? And those devices are more accurate. They're more expensive, and they're really not used. The purpose is to keep people alive, right? Because a lot of these more advanced CGM devices will talk to like insulin pumps that people have on their person that will automatically inject insulin when they need insulin if their sugar levels go too low or too high. And so the Stella device really is pointed at a market for people who don't necessarily need down to the minute analysis of their blood sugar levels, nor need integration with other diabetic type devices like insulin pumps. So this is basically just a sensor that gives you your blood glucose within about a 5-minute range. Okay. So for the cost of these you get, so for about $100, you get 2 sensors, and these sensors last 15 days a piece. They stick on, and after about 15 days, you have a little pop-up saying, hey, it's time to replace, because there's a small battery in them to do Bluetooth. So they're about $100 for a month. You can subscribe to this and actually get them for, I think, $89 if you do like a subscription. So they're not inexpensive. They're not cheap. Also, if you do have diabetes, then you're probably using a Dexcom, one of the more professional CGMs that you're probably getting through prescription. What's nice about these are, anyone can just go buy them. You don't have to have a prescription. If I wanted to go get like a Dexcom G7, I'd have to get a prescription from my doctor, and then those are quite more expensive if you're not putting them through insurance. This is a little cheaper. And for me, I'm getting it for a few months, and then I'll probably stop using it. Not that it's a bad device, but I just wanted to get a baseline of how certain foods affect my glucose. So that's how I'm using it. But cool little device. The other device we're going to talk about, Jimmy, I think is one of your picks, right?
Yeah, this was talking about wearables. So I don't have one of these, but I thought they were really cool. I've heard about them, and I started taking a look at them. So this is the Oura Ring, I believe is how if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So like everybody else, I wear an Apple Watch, and most people do Fitbit or different types of wearables to track. I mentioned the CPAP, so I track sleep, I track heart rate, do all that kind of stuff. Like it, but the big thing is I don't like charging it basically every day. So every day I get a notification that I have to charge before going to bed. I got to remember to do it, or it dies. So these are really neat, and I get a lot of the same data, and they're fashionable. So they're it's just a ring that you wear in your finger, and they got all kinds of different colors and finishes, and make it look however you want. It basically runs for about 8 days on a single charge, tracks a lot of the same statistics, plug into Apple Health. Nobody really knows that you're wearing it, but you still get a lot of the same data. It's not really for like hardcore athletic people who are trying to really do a lot of tracking for exercise activities, but you can get a lot of your day-to-day vitals. So it's got, like you see here, it's got blood oxygen sensing, which mine's an older Apple Watch, so I don't have that. So a lot of cool things. I guess probably the only negative is it is rather expensive. I mean, it's almost $300 for the, I think, Gen 4, maybe a little more than that for that. So it is kind of expensive. I mean, not necessarily if you are using it as your only wearable, but I'm probably not going to stop wearing my watch because there's still other functionality on it that I want that this doesn't do, that has nothing to do with, health data. And also there is a monthly subscription. So it's $6 a month in addition to that. But I thought the technology was cool because this is probably the few that I have seen of wearables that are kind of also meant to be fashionable. I mean, although it's got a different function, if people remember, Google Glass and all that kind of stuff. Not very fashionable. You could always tell who was wearing it. It was pretty obvious. So this is very discreet. So I thought that was neat as well.
I like the fact that it's a ring. So if you want to do sleep tracking, it's a lot easier than wearing a watch. A watch gets in the way. I don't like wearing a smart watch in the bed. And plus, a lot of times, to your point, you got to charge them at night so you can wear it all day anyway. So this is great that you can just kind of have that secondary device as a ring, and it's just low profile and kind of does a similar function. And if you wanted to go old school and wear a regular wristwatch, you could still get your metrics out of this.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, Eric. I mean, I know that I usually, what's funny, Jimmy, is you say Apple Watch. Right now, Apple, if you buy a new Apple Watch today, you don't get blood oxygen, right? Because I think there's some legal issues.
Lawsuits.
So I have an older Apple Watch that I got before that happened, but I know people who want to have their blood oxygen, which I think is an important metric to general health. You got to have something, and I love it. And Eric, I love these things like you do. Like, a lot of times people don't like sleeping with their watch on for whatever reason. Maybe it's just uncomfortable. Or they're charging their watch at night and then get up in the morning, put it on, where the Ring, I think, has a much better, tolerance for keeping it on longer. It's probably got a different type of battery technology in it that, because there's no display on it. So your battery life is going to be more optimized for calculating these metrics, right? And it does a lot. I mean, blood oxygen, you can look at your sleep tracking, which is really handy. And then the other thing I like is I think it does temperature as well. I know when I looked at these.
Yeah, I saw that. It tracks your body temperature. So now I didn't look into all the analytics that you can get, but I would assume, it's funny. It's winter time here, and daughter came in. She wasn't feeling well. First thing I do is go, let's take your temperature, see kind of where you're at. Now I'm not saying this is a substitute for that. But it is kind of interesting that you're starting to get some of that data from wearables, right? So not necessarily tells you don't have a temperature, but it's one of those things that if it is increased, that there's something wrong you need to check out. So
yeah, I was just thinking about that, Jimmy, of if they have maybe a future upgrade where they could kind of alert you, right? Of like, hey, I noticed your core temperature is increasing. Maybe you're coming down with something.
Yep.
Right.
That's right.
Go take some probiotics or some vitamin C or something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you travel a lot, that's the other thing. You're traveling. Maybe you're not feeling so well. You're at your destination. You don't have a thermometer, right? Like you do at home. So there's a lot of cool stuff. I did like also like you're showing it here on the screen. Not that this is different from really most of the wearables that are out there from a watch standpoint, but it's water resistant, so you can shower with it. I don't know. I assume you can. I don't know if you can get into a pool or anything with it, but you don't have to take it off to do that.
Yeah, well, it's up to 328 feet. Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
So I guess you could I don't know if I do want to go scuba diving with it, but I guess you could. Yeah.
That gets into the waterproof versus water resistant.
Oh yeah.
It should be fine. So I think shower, you're probably great. Going into a chlorinated pool or into the ocean, maybe not such a good idea.
I don't know if I can.
Yeah, salt water probably is not good for electronics, right?
No, it's not.
But 7 days of battery life. So I didn't realize this. That's a long time. So, yeah, I this is where I would say, if you're, the watch is good, and the watch kind of does other things, right? It tells time, right? You get notifications on it. You can do a lot with it. But, my watch, after a full day of use, it's time to charge. And, you're not going to get more than a couple of days on an Apple Watch, where this is a 7-day battery life. That's really good.
So I looked just to double check. So this generation, the Gen 4s that are out, that's when we're recording this, they're about $400. It's probably a little steep for what I want to spend on it. But when they come down a little bit more, maybe this generation becomes the next older one. I might pick one of these up. This is a want to have, nice to have kind of thing.
Cool. Very good. All right. That's a good pick, Jimmy. All right. Let's go to one more here. And this one, we're going to go to Mr. Eric. Eric, tell us about this, because I do love a good set of headphones.
So I've had the XM4, the older version before this, for several years and loved them. And they've got great, active noise canceling and things like that. But I picked up this set, and I've actually got them right here. I picked up this set on Black Friday, and I got mine for $199. Kind of crazy deal. So I was like, why not? But let me tell you, the active noise canceling on these blows the 4s out of the water.
Really?
So this is the WH-1000 XM5, right?
These are the XM5s. This is the newest one from Sony. I was sitting in the living room trying them out, and my wife was trying to talk to me, and she's like, "Hey!" And she had to throw something at me. I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like I could hear nothing. So yes, if you've never had an over-the-ear active noise canceling headphone, Sony makes some of the best ones out there on the market. Bose is really good too, but I really like these a lot. And if you're in noisy environments, if you're mowing the grass, if your family's just listening to something else and you need to go do something else, listen to an audiobook, whatever, these are just amazing. I love them.
That's cool.
I get on Teams calls with these a lot, especially when I'm traveling, just have my laptop. I always have my headphones with me because it's got good audio. I can hear everything. It's great. So,
awesome. And about 3.5 hours on a charge is what it looks like. If I'm looking at this.
Yeah, honestly, I can wear these kind of on and off for days and days without having to charge them.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it's you just hit a little button, it'll tell you like, "Hey, I'm at 80% battery life," or whatever. It'll tell you where it's at, as well as being on the phone app, of course.
And these most all these headphones, these premium headphones, they support like Dolby Atmos.
Yep, and they have
high-end codecs, right?
They've got the multi Bluetooth, so you can connect it to 2 devices at once. So you can connect it to your phone and your laptop. And so if you are listening to music on your phone and then you get a Teams call, then it auto switches over. You don't have to go disconnect it and reconnect it or anything like that.
That's cool. Nice. So it's not only headphones, it also has a built-in mic. So if you needed to take a call, that's really cool. And the big question is, I'm assuming USB-C.
It is USB-C charging, yes. And so are the 4s, by the way.
See, here's the thing. I love, and I've probably talked about Apple. I love my Apple products, and I have the Apple AirPods Max, right? But man, they have not done it. Apple has not done anything new with that product for almost 4 years, and I kind of feel like they've fallen behind, right? Apple recently
they've done one thing with the AirPods Pro, so
and expensive.
Yeah, the Pros too. They did the you can use them as kind of an assistant hearing aid, which you can't do with the over the ear, which is kind of neat. But you're right. Other than that, there's just been more of the same.
Yeah, I mean the one thing that came out with the AirPods Max is they now do USB-C, but that's the only thing they did to improve the product. And I'm not going to spend $400 or $500 on a new set of headphones just to get USB-C. Where the Sonys, I mean, they're kind of pulling ahead with some of their products here that I may start looking at Sony instead of an Apple product. I know that sounds blasphemous, but it's true.
Yeah, it is compatible with Apple and Android. Will, just to be clear.
Well, and Jimmy, you had one of these for your picks, which was the I think I opened the wrong one. The AirPods Pros 2s, which these the Apple loves the AirPod Pros. They're updating these left and right with new technology and new chipsets.
Yeah, so I've got some. I don't have the AirPods Pros 2. I have the AirPods Pro. So the only reason I put this on my list, and I won't really go into it's one feature for people who may have the same issue. So I have some hearing loss in one ear, so I wear a hearing aid in my left ear. And when I want to use these, whether it's at the gym or sometimes I use them for calls when I'm traveling, they're not the greatest for that, but they actually can function as a hearing aid for people who have mild to moderate hearing. Not saying you should try to replace your hearing aid with this, but the problem it solves for people who are like me who wear one is I take mine out, I put my AirPods in, my non-Pro 2s, and if I need to switch from listening to those or doing a call to talking to someone in person, whether it's a gym or at work, I don't have a hearing aid in, right? So you can leave these in and use that functionality. Now that's the only reason they're on my list. It's kind of a niche use case, but if you find yourself in that situation, I think it's neat. When I inevitably lose or break my Pros, which will happen because it happens every year, I break or lose these. this is where I'm moving to, and specifically for that reason.
Yeah, those are really cool. All right, guys, we have time for one more. It's funny. I always say, hey, we're gonna do a 30-minute podcast, and it ends up being an hour. We're almost at an hour mark, and I think we all have some things to do. But let's do one more. Eric, I'm gonna paste this one in because I don't. This is one I have no idea what this is.
Yeah, so this is a WIM. WIM makes a lot of really cool, interesting technology products for kind of like audiophiles. But so basically, here's the use case: is I had an old sound bar that an old Klipsch sound bar. It's got good sound, but it doesn't have any smart technology in it, right? Other than it's got some Bluetooth, and that's about it. And you're connected to it. You walk around, it cuts in and out. It's not great. So the WIM Pro specifically is a device that turns your speaker smart, right? So this allows you to connect into via Google or Apple. It's got an EQ built in. You can stream your music directly from Spotify or Tidal or wherever you want. And now it's over Wi-Fi, right? So you don't have to worry about Bluetooth connectivity. It's got a great analysis, and they make a number of products, as you were showing there, where they've got a WIM amp as well. So it's got an amplifier built in. So if you have non-powered speakers, you could drive it with that product as well. There's also a mini version that's a little more economical, but it does not connect in with Google, by the way. So it's an Apple only, but it is a little bit cheaper. But I have been loving this. So I've got a soundbar set up in the living room. I've got this set up. Anybody in my household can stream an Audible or Spotify or whatever they want and kind of listen to this from anywhere. And it really gives a lot more usable life to an older product. The other thing that it can do is it's got inputs, right? So if you had a record player that you wanted to stream, you could push that in as an input into the WIM and then have that play wherever you have it connected up as well.
That's really cool.
Cool little product that I found just to kind of do that stuff.
Yeah, I love stuff like this because I have an older Sonos system, and it's like really old. It's probably 10 years old, and it's just getting old. Not that it's bad; it still works. The speakers still sound good. It's just some of the connectivity is less smart than it used to be, and something like this would be pretty cool. Plus, if you're an audiophile, right, and you've got a really nice set of speakers, then you do want to bring in smart capabilities to those speakers, this may be the way to go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look closer at this because this is really nice.
Yeah, and it will even kind of like what you're talking about. It will do things like analyze the room. It can make some EQ adjustments for you. So, you can really kind of nerd out on this if you are that true audiophile and kind of tweak it where, I mean, you can't do that, especially with, 10, 20-year-old equipment that's really nice, has great sound. It just doesn't have the technology with it.
Yeah. I hate you, Eric, because most of the things you show me, I end up buying.
You gotta go buy it.
Damn it. No, that's cool. Now, one question because we're almost at an hour here, and we're gonna. I will definitely post all of these links and stuff in the show notes. So someone who's wants to link to these things, I'm gonna compile a nice list. Vinyl or no vinyl?
I'm no vinyl right now, but I'm not opposed to it. So. I grew up with tapes. I would probably do tapes over vinyl personally.
Like cassette tapes?
Like cassette tapes, yeah. I did a lot of cassette tapes growing up.
We need to have another podcast about that.
we need to have an audiophile. The reason I'm not into it, though, Will, to your point, is I don't want to spend the money because man, you can.
Yeah, vinyl's gotten
expensive.
Go crazy. It's a collector's. It's a collector's medium right now, so
it is.
I I did the same thing. I moved from like, I'm old enough to remember going from tapes to CDs, and of course everything's streaming now. And so I had a few records, LPs and other things, but those are still around. But if you want to change formats yet again to go back to especially for some classic things, it can get expensive.
Yeah.
Quality, I do believe there's a sound quality, like you can't really beat it for that, for getting all the natural sounds, or natural, Will, better than me, but sort of the natural sound that you remember from being analog. But yeah, it's
I'm old or something?
Hobby. Yes, you are. You're absolutely.
It's funny is I grew up in the day where I did have a few albums, but I grew up in the cassette era, and then later on compact disc, right? And the thing that I dearly miss is to be able to take the little booklet out of the jewel case and read through the liner notes, right? Who played what instrument, who is the engineer? Because I love that stuff, right? And now with streaming, you don't get that. I know there are some sites that you can go to that basically people have scanned in all the liner notes to different albums. Apple is starting to put liner notes online through their Apple Classical app, but it's not the same than sitting down with an LP, a vinyl, or thumbing through it. Anyway,
Will, no 8-track in your car?
No, my parents did have, and I still do have in my closet right over here, 4 8-track cassettes that I took from my mom's house. One is Herb Albert, the next is the Doobie Brothers. And
nice click in between the songs when it switches tracks. So that was always nice.
Yeah.
Until it grabs the tape and you try to pull it out, and you're like, no.
All right, guys. Well, look, thank you so much for joining on this podcast. This will be the last one. We're going to wrap up for the year. Obviously, you can find us on all of the the places where you find your favorite podcasts: the Apple Store, Google Play Store, Spotify. We're going to be on all the major platforms. Be looking out for some more data center centric podcasts in January. I think the next one we're going to talk about DartPoints Advanced Internet Peering, which is going to be really good. In fact, a lot of us are going through training on this technology right now, so we're going to have a lot of good stuff coming up and talking about things we're doing at DartPoints in 2025. So, thanks everyone for joining us, and have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and a great
Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays,
great New Year's.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Thanks.